Okay, I'd like to extend again for those who have joined us today to celebrate what the Lord has done through the ministry of Blue Letter Bible for the past year. With us today we have the Lord who's present with us. Amen. We have users of Blue Letter Bible. We got staff members. We have board members. We have donors. We have those who have donated their time to the ministry, those who have donated content to be used on the site, those who have donated financially to support the ministry, and the families of all of those as well. And we want to thank you. All of those are represented in the room. We're all here together to celebrate this. And so part of the thing about Blue Letter Bible, it's not totally unique, but just as a ministry, we used to say for us, the people that we minister to are on the other side of a CRT tube versus that's what we used to say in the early days, to an LED screen, to a phone, to whatever. You don't often get to meet that person face to face and who you interact with and users, but we do, and we've met some in various places around the world, but for the majority, we don't really have that opportunity. And so we celebrate that together by looking at what the Lord's done. And the only real kind of way to quantify it is how many, if we were doing a homeless ministry or something where we were serving turkey dinners on Thanksgiving, you'd have that interaction. But for us, is to kind of look at some numbers and to see what the Lord has done. And it isn't about the numbers, but and as I tell the staff, there's a person on the other end of this. And you may not know that they're being ministered to, but the Lord is ministering it to, because His word does not return void, and that's what we're doing, is we're ministering the word. But we will kind of go through some numbers to kind of see what God has done in that. The staff and their families, for why your families work for the ministry or why you donate to the ministry. What's the return on the kingdom investment? And this is that opportunity to go through and look at it. So without further ado, we'll start. In 2018, when I stood up here, I told you that we had 12 million unique users. That's what Google uses to, basically all the numbers you see up here, pretty much all the numbers are certified by Google. In the last year, in 2019, that number's risen to 18 million. That's a 50% increase. Don't even know. Don't understand. When we as a staff sit down and just, this is God's work. This isn't anything we're doing to try to do. So, although we do things to try to promote the ministry, this is God's work. And so, significant amount of usage of the word. And that is what this ministry is about. It's about presenting the word to people. And we do that so that to study the written word so that you'll know more about the living word, Jesus Christ. And so that's our tagline, and that's not just a tagline, that's how we look at what we do. Who is it that we're ministering to? So the United States is about 66% of the user base, and then internationally it's 34%. That number's grown in the last year. That was 22% last year. Significant increase. Where is that? And one way to do that, and you can slice and dice this information in so many different ways, but one way we like to do it is to look at who the top countries are. So the top country is the United States with 10,669,420 users in the U.S. last year. United Kingdom, 619,000. Nigeria moved up into the third spot from number 6 with 541,452 users. Mexico has grown from 9 to 4. Canada, now these numbers, I'm going to sit there and say the ranking's gone from 3rd or 5th, but the actual numbers have all increased. So the numbers have increased because you've increased 8 million users, but how they rank and how they come has changed, the distribution of them. So Canada's gone from 3 to 5 in ranking. The Philippines, 440,000, number 6. Colombia has moved into the top 10 from 12 to 7, 400,000 users. South Africa has remained at number 8. Australia has gone from 7 to 9. And then India rounds out the top 10. I think you can see it's broad-based. It's not just I mean, in the early days, these numbers would be primarily, when we look at it, United States and what they are, but it's definitely changed. Now, when we look at those numbers, it's all going to be kind of skewed towards the bigger countries, right? Because, I mean, the U.S. is, just population-wise, you're going to get more users. So the other way, kind of do it is I take it and look at it on per capita. So what's it based upon how many people, the population of the country? And so the next 10 is looking at it from that standpoint. And so number 1 is the Bahamas. 4.6% of the population are users of Blue Letter Bible. Number 2, Cayman Islands. Number 3, Anguilla, who's moved from the 10th to the 3rd. I don't know what's going on in Anguilla, but it's good, right? Cook Islands. I don't know if you're seeing like a little trend here, like all these little islands, like in the Caribbean and wherever. Norfolk Island has moved from 15th to 5. And if you don't know where that is, that's like 800 miles east of Sydney, and then go down a little bit, you'd hit New Zealand. So it's kind of like in that top corner of that. Antigua and Barbuda, 3.5% at number 6. Montserrat, number 7. The United States does come in at number 8, 3.3%. Barbados, and then Bermuda. And so try to figure, I just have to like take a trip and find out what's going on in all these places, right? Right? I think that's, because I don't know what it is, so I think it's a field trip to see what's going on in Bermuda, Caymans, and so on. But the other one that's interesting is to look at the cities. Remaining at number 1 for those of you here last year, Lagos, Nigeria, with 420,000 users. That's the number 1 city. The most users in any city in the world is in Nigeria. I'm told that Nigeria has the largest church in Africa, and it's about a city of about 20 million people, and half are Christian and half are Muslim. And so, but if you remember a few slides ago, we had Nigeria has had 540,000 users, so 420 of those 540 are in the city of Lagos. Then we can hit New York. New York's moved up from number 4 to number 2. So I have 2 pastor friends in New York. Many of you in the room know Drew Sagawa, Calvary Chapel, Queens, and Claude Stauffer, Calvary Chapel, Long Island, and told them something's going on in New York. We like it, like to see it. Dallas, number 3. Atlanta, it comes in at number 4, 280,000 people, gone from 2 to 4 though. Chicago has moved up from 6 to 5, and they've swapped with LA, who's gone from 5 to 6. London moved up into 7th place. Nairobi has moved into the top 10 from the 11th. And then Houston at number 9. And Nashville has come into the top 10. So those are the cities. You can see things happening, large just population around the world of people using it. Some other kind of ministry highlights. The Bible has been listened to over 20,460,000 times. That's the reason we're here. That's why we are doing this. And so 20 million listens of the Bible. And then, of course, we are all tech kind of oriented, not all of us. Some of us are sane in the ministry. But there are tech, and there is a battle that continues about who's better. It isn't Kirk versus Picard, it's Android versus Apple. Okay. Which one is better? We have a team to deal with this, and so that's that's Data Dan and Jordy LaRepligal there for you. They may be sitting at your table, but they handle our app development for the ministry. But if you are actually interested, it does kind of split 64% Apple and 36 Android. Then we have the Blue Letter Bible Institute. If you're not aware, that's a Blue Letter Bible Institute where we took Bible college classes and made them available online for the layman to be able to just enrich themselves with that information. I don't know, we started this somewhere around 2002, my memory fails me, but in that time we've had 115,000 students enroll in Blue Letter Bible Institute from 216 different countries. And so, tremendous activity there. Talk a little bit more about that in just a second as well. Emails, devotionals out, about almost 25 million devotionals in the last year. We've got some new tools that have been developed, or new looks. So with that, I mentioned the Blue Letter Bible Institute. It's totally been redone, and so it's now mobile friendly. So videos on the go, audio on the go as well. And we secured the study.bible domain when the .bibles came out. And so that's our new domain for the Blue Letter Bible Institute. And if you haven't been there, I suggest you do. For me, this is what, one of those things that started, I obtained a set of tapes from the Calvary Chapel Bible College in Murrieta on Christology and soteriology. And when I listened to those, said, the people in the pews need to be able to hear this and listen to this as well. And so that was the impetus for starting this. But I would suggest, if you haven't, you might try Christology, the Doctrine of Christ by Dr. David Hawking. 33,000 students have taken that course. Or Growing in the Grace of God by Pastor Bob Hoekstra, 12,000. Some of these, and the reason I bring them up, are like transformative in how you think about things and how you deal. When you understand who Christ is. I'm preaching to the choir a little bit, but you go back to your churches or people that you meet and talk with, and to understand who Christ is, or his claims. When someone says, Jesus never claimed to be God, well, they haven't really studied the fact, because he has claimed over and over and over again to be God. Or just the transformative of growing in the grace of God and not living on our own works, or not trying to strive to receive favor with God. And Pastor Bob used to tell us, was a board member before he went to be with the Lord. He married my wife and I, he's a good friend all the time, is that unfortunately he often felt that he needed to preach this to the church. The church didn't really understand the grace of God. And so that was his mission in Living in Christ Ministries, was to preach God's grace. And so I suggest you, just as a couple, if you haven't taken those, we developed a new tool called Scripture Mark. You can find out more information about that at scripturemark.org. What might that be? What does it look like? So it's an appropriate time at Christmas time. Let's say you're looking at Luke 2:10 through 12, and you're reading the Christmas story, and maybe you want to teach that with your kids. Maybe you're teaching that in Sunday school, maybe you're teaching that and that. But how much nicer would that be if you could make it look like that? And that's what Scripture Mark does. It just allows you to easily add highlighting or notes or markings on it to much more interactive with the Sunday school crowd or something along that line. So those are that's still kind of in beta testing, but should be live pretty soon over in the beginning of the year. And coming forward, it's basically inductive Bible study. Just wanted to review a little bit of our commentators on the site. So we kind of break this up into two. We have text and we have audio on the site. And these, just ahead of time, just going to say these are not, because there are commentators that commentate on the entire Bible, and because of how Blue Letter Bible works, the more each Bible verse you're in, you're going to get more. So, but people like to know this. People ask the question all the time. So I do it, but it's not like this is best top ranking. This is just the most access because there's many, but it's just informative to know. Number 5 in the ranking is J. Vernon McGee. Those who remember listening to J. Vernon on the radio. Number 4, C.H. Spurgeon. Number 3, Matthew Henry. Number 2, Chuck Smith. And number 1, David Guzik. Okay. I warned David that I was going to do this. Now, it would be enough just to say, okay, it's the number 1, but it's 22.5 million accesses of his study guides over the year, which represents 65% of all text commentary accesses. And what's really sweet about it is 8 million of them are in Spanish. And so I know you guys in your ministry spend a lot of money in trying to translate these commentaries into the different languages, and there's return on that ministry. And that's a lot of that growth when you see Mexico or Colombia or whatever in the Spanish side. And so audio resources to head up Elizabeth for the women, our number 1 woman, John Corson. Pastor Bob Davis, number 5, and our early ministry partner, Chuck Missler, Chuck Smith, and then Jay Vernon, again for audio. Those numbers about 1.3 million in accesses of his audio commentaries. Now, Jay Vernon is probably the top typical, what we would consider commentary, the top. But notice the title's audio resources. So there's another aspect of audio resources. Let's say you happen to be in one of the synoptic gospels and you're reading about this guy named Jairus, and he comes to Jesus once, his daughter healed, and it says that he's a ruler of the synagogue, and you click on the interlinear, and you go and you see this word and you think, what? In that interlinear, and you don't know, and it doesn't help when you get it in English any better, right? But you want to know what it sounds like.
Strong's G 752, archesunagogas, archesunagogas.
Now, I had Dan find the worst Greek word to try to pronounce, and we came up with that. Or if you just want to hear
Strong's H 3068, Yehovah, Yehovah.
So all of these words are pronounced by our brother Justin Alfred. And they've been accessed 7.2 million times in the last year. So people are studying, that's what it's showing as we look at this. And also wanted to give some special thanks to our content donors who are in the room. And so we got Don Perkins here. And Don has a series on God's Order of Events, which is very popular on the website. Miles de Benedictus has a series on Colossians that's very popular on the website. Don Smith, Portraits of Christ. You should go take a look and just understand about your Lord. Bill Foote has a series on the gospel of grace. And again, go to understand that. And Kevin Atsuji has a series messages on the Reformation. All those I think I would commend to you, and thank you as donors to the Blue Letter Bible for donating your content to us. And so kind of finishing off here, just what are the Bible translations that are used the most? So number 5 is the NIV with about 4.5 million accesses in a certain. This does not include the audio. Doesn't just kind of someone's just clicking to read a chapter, or the ESV 5 million, NASB 5.8 million, NKJV 7.5 million, and still holding at number 1, very strong, the KJV 35 million. So King James is not dead. It's good stuff, right? It's all good. So hopefully, for those that just understand, just as we look at these, just that the word is going forth and it's being used. Thank you to all of you here, because in some way all of you are part of this process and what the Lord is doing and using. So that's our ministry highlights for the year, and give the Lord a hand. Amen.